ready? Live from Huntertown, Indiana, it's Soarin on the air. So today we're going to revisit a topic we talked about before because I learned some new things. Gosh, I'm really doing good.
Wow.
Wow, I learned something new.
What did you learn?
I learned some new things. So,
The peanut gallery's here.
He's going to tell you what he just learned. Oh, we're on.
Yeah.
so where'd you come from? Well, we discussed that before, and well, this time we're going to do more.
More.
More, yeah. So, anyways, people thought that all of a sudden birds arrived right from the velociraptors.
You're missing the show, you know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Look
So
at-
we're a
wow.
raptor center, and this is one of our raptors.
Oh my gosh, Bob, that's hysterical.
So,
Where do you keep him?
so we had those velociraptors, and all of a sudden we had blue jays. Blue jays. There they are. Yeah. Well, it didn't quite happen that way.
They're not quite as aggressive.
No. Well, you'd be surprised at times.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
So, anyways, looking back at dinosaurs, one of the things I really was intrigued by was the fact that dinosaurs were only on this Earth for about maybe 3/4 of a galactic year. And a galactic year is how long it takes for this solar system to go all the way around our spiral nebula and come back to about the same location. But it's not exactly a location because everything's expanding and contracting and moving. And oh well, close enough. And the dinosaurs only lasted about 3/4 of that. Okay, so from the time they started up to the time that that we can measure, they only lasted about 3/4 of that. And then there was a big surprise, So
Surprise.
surprise. So we had a lot of dinosaurs running around the Earth. I think we talked about these guys before. Some of them are the theropods. They stood up on their hind legs, and they had developed some things like some rudimentary feathers and things like that. They went running through, so they're kind of like maybe predecessors of birds. And then we started developing this thing called an Archaeopteryx, which was a kind of a neat bird, but it was only maybe about 2 feet tall. Had feathers and stuff, couldn't fly, but could run along the ground, and it had really nasty teeth.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, okay, this big asteroid landed out there by the Yucatan Peninsula and in a shallow area, and it threw up a lot of dirt and dust and debris into the air, and all of a sudden, everything started dying out. So, but it's for dinosaurs to proceed into birds, we had bipedal locomotion, okay, they stood up on 2 legs, they had basic feathers, a lot of them just had nothing more than just, if you will, just the center vein, something like that. Some had more complex feathers. But then they also developed the wishbone. In other words, the part there where the muscles developed so that they could activate their wings. And then their feet got developed. They lost their 5th toe on their foot, and the first toe moved over and became the hallux, or the gripping toe that's on the back of the ankle or foot, if you want to call it that. And they developed this tarsiometris. I can't say that word. You can look it up.
Tarsiometris.
Oh, very good. Okay, we got that. So basically, here's the development. So here's a human foot and leg. Here's one of the theropods. Okay, the dinosaurs, and then here's the bird with the hallux in the back and only 3 toes forward, and that kind of thing. And so basically, here's the progression from the dinosaurs into the birds. And apparently the dinosaurs developed feathers. They had things like quills. They had downy stuff. They had contour feathers. They had the stiff feathers that would have allowed flight if they could have gotten off the ground. And again, back to the foot there with the 3 toes forward, 1 toe backwards. And, So the hand and the arm, some of the bones fused up, so that it made it easier to make a wing. Shoulder and wrist joints were developed, and they got the extension of the feather of the fingers, and therefore you got the primaries out there, so the birds could fly, and then you had the addition of secondaries. In other words, feathers that were in close that allowed gliding and that kind of thing, support in the air.
Oh, I wonder if that'll ever happen to us.
Well, it may. Some people with their hairy armpits, yeah. But there were incremental changes with the birds, okay? So, so they got again, the reversed hallux. They got air sacs in there, so that was a lot. And they got unserrated teeth. In fact, they went basically to a beak. They had clavicle bones that were fused in the back, which made it better for flight. The ribs, some of the ribs were fused together so that they're not separated like they are with us humans, but they actually were fused together. And so that also made it more possible to have muscles so they could get flight developed. They had no teeth. They developed beaks, which is one of the big things. And they got rid of those nasty old tailbones. Nothing worse than having a tailbone sticking out there, dragging you down. But wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Hold on now.
Hold on.
Stop everything.
Yes, just stop. So, that sounds like I'm going to do a sales pitch here.
Yeah.
Stop. You haven't seen
Oh,
everything.
wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. Yeah. One of the things that was interesting is that the paleontologists going through all these fossils and everything and dating them found out that a lot of these features were already present before the big extinction, before the Big Bang. Well, it wasn't the Big Bang, but the big extinction. So a lot of these things were already present. So what did happen? So things just didn't change there. We had the big extinction, and then all of a sudden birds developed. No, birds were already developing before the big extinction. So size matters. We all know that, right? Yeah. So dinosaurs grew larger, so they got more and more massive. But the paraves were growing smaller. Okay, and so a lot of those guys were starting to develop, but they were getting smaller. And so when the Big Bang came along, or the big extinction came along, about any dinosaur that was above 100 kilograms was extinguished.
Huh.
So those guys, because, they lost their food sources, for one thing, they they needed a lot to eat, that kind of thing. The dust and dirt and everything that was suspended in the air, the lack of sunlight, so basically those guys just died out. There was nothing there to support them. But the little guys, they did quite well. So here's the incredible shrinking birds, okay? So you went from your things like Tyrannosaurus Rex and, down here to the Coleosaurus, down here to the paraves, and this is where you start splitting off there from your little velociraptors and that kind of thing. And they got smaller and smaller. And as time went on, and this happened very quickly, as you can see, it went right down there. So very quickly it changed. So we lost all the so-called arboreal birds. Okay, anything that lived in a tree, because the trees got wiped out. A big shock wave went through, tore down trees and things like that. Plus, also the trees needed a lot of sunlight and things to grow. And so, essentially, what you ended up with was essentially waterfowl and groundfowl. Those were the birds that were left on that after the big extinction. And here's an example of one of the birds that was left. This is a Iberiomosornis, okay. And this bird was about the size of a sparrow.
That's a beautiful bird.
It's a bird. Well, this is depiction. Nobody was around to take a selfie of it,
Well, they
but,
got nice ideas for it.
But it's a nice idea. Yeah. So this is one of the little birds that was left. So the little birds did quite well, And so little birds survived because they could feed on insects, worms, things like that, small fruits, So the little birds did quite well, and it was from the little birds that our current birds evolved.
Oh.
Okay, so we always think of the big dinosaurs all changing down and becoming birds,
Yeah.
when in fact it was the little birds that did the big change. So the burst of evolution in birds did not produce modern birds. In fact, birds produced a burst of evolution. Okay, so it's kind of backwards. Okay, so we don't, so that's what I said. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, really.
We owe a lot to birds.
Yeah. So now we had intense selection was occurring. Okay, so basically where birds could they survive in the cold, survive in the heat, the desert areas, the wet areas, where it was. So there was a lot of selection going on. Okay, and the rapid miniaturization, in other words, that slope that you saw gave smaller birds an advantage. They had new habitats, they had a new way of life. They adapted to pre-existing features. What they already had, they adapted those to their new lives. In other words, some of them, basically, they had enough feathers so they could float on the water, or they had, a beak that they could peck on food, that kind of thing. And so now the birds move from the trees, or they move to what existing trees there were for habitat and food. So now, instead of having these big things sitting up in trees, now you have these small little guys hiding in the leaves or pecking through the leaves, getting the insects out. Or they found cavities where they could nest. So all of a sudden, here were all these birds learning a new way of life.
Wow.
And so they adapted to their surroundings, okay, to their habitat. So, and then also one of the things is that they had to get smaller and more adaptable, because if you want to fly, okay, you have to have a certain ratio of wing size to weight. In other words, just because you have wings doesn't mean you can fly. Ostriches have wings,
Yes.
but I sure haven't seen one fly yet.
Feet are too big.
So you need a certain ratio, and it depends on what you do. You have, for soaring birds, you need big, wide wings to support the body, and you need a light body. You go and you pick up something like an albatross. Albatrosses look huge, but they only weigh about 5-6 pounds. They're not really huge, And so there's a ratio of how much the size of the wing to the size of the body that has to be lifted. And we can go back into force, drag, lift, all that good stuff, in aeronautics. But basically, the same thing holds for birds that holds for airplanes. It depends on what you're doing, So that's why you have birds that fly fast have swept back wings, birds that have lift heavy loads, like vultures, or ones that glide for a long time have big wide wings. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So the birds basically start splitting off, So they started off with some core little guys, and then they split off. And this happened all very, very rapidly. And one of the big things that happened was this thing, pediomorphosis. Pediomorphosis. Yeah, okay. That's a big word.
Congratulations, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's our word of the day.
Yeah, it's the word of the day. Yeah, we're going to see that on the test Monday. Okay.
You gotta spell it.
Yeah, yes, but basically, it's the retention of juvenile traits as an adult. So one of the things that here were birds, animals that basically had certain traits, and rather than developing new traits, they developed those. Okay, so one of the things that they found was that there were certain genes that apparently were suppressed, and that stopped, if you will, development from an egg or an embryo into an adult, whereas this basically stopped it at the hatchling stage. And so instead of having like with the birds, what would happen is when the hatchling comes out, and you can probably see it in our birds, they have relatively large heads compared to small bodies.
Yeah.
And this allows for a larger brain. It also allows for the eyes and and beak development. Whereas if you take something like an alligator, okay, an alligator basically it comes up and the skull gets bigger, but it develops into a adult size skull, and the brain is very small. So some of these guys, like the Velociraptor, here he comes along. He's got this big head, and he's got a brain the size of a walnut.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have.
Ex-husband's like, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh. Can I be sued for this?
Maybe now.
Maybe now. Okay. So.
Run that one back.
Yeah.
I threw him off now.
See, somebody's paying attention. So, anyways, and then in fact, they did some experiments where they suppressed the genes in chicken eggs, these two genes, and when they suppressed these certain two genes, the embryo that developed actually resembled a crocodile or an alligator.
Oh, wow. Oh,
and
interesting.
and
Wow.
so, but they said they did not let it come to full term. Okay,
Huh.
so that was nice of them.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
Not like those COVID guys, But anyways, so what they found was that here the egg, the reproduction, the egg did not, or the embryo did not develop further than a juvenile stage, if you will, and that allowed the development of a larger brain, bigger eyes, the beak got, and the face collapsed, because the skull didn't go out,
Yeah.
and that allowed for the beak development.
Wow, that's cool.
That's cool.
That is.
Who knew? Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Awesome.
So, where did he come from? It's interesting, but again, just enjoy the birds. It's a lot, and every time I go out there, I find something new.
Yeah.
How long did the dinosaurs last? How did the development occur? And this whole paleontology thing. I thought, well, you find some dinosaur bones and some other stuff, but actually they're learning quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah,
And it's interesting what they're finding out, and some of the conjecture that they're coming up with in development of some of this. It's kind of like, wow. When you think about it, it makes sense, but sometimes it takes a little bit.
Right.
And some of the stuff I've heard doesn't make sense, but that's people working on their PhDs. So anyways, in conclusion. Oh yeah.
Oh, baby. Oh, I really like this.
Wow. So we have some upcoming events, okay, and some of these things are sort of out there a bit. Public events that are coming up. We have the opening there at the Promenade Park. That's going to be that's going to be in April when it's finally warm.
Yeah. What's that?
We're going to be there. The Tin Caps game in June.
Oh, fun.
Open streets in Fort Wayne, downtown. Friends of the Limberlost. We're going to be out there at this celebrating the life of. There we go.
That person.
What?
That person?
No, not
That
sure.
person.
Yeah,
That event.
yeah. The Gene Stratton Porter.
Oh.
Okay. Gene Stratton Porter. So we're going to be down there at the Salon Covered Bridge. So we're going to be out there, and they promise there's going to be food. Okay. So, but we got some other places we're going. So if you're members of some of these churches and stuff, St. Mark's Early Learners. Oh, we just did that yesterday. So that was yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
They had about I think about 15, 16 kids, about 8 adults. And so I hope everybody had a good time. We're going to be at the Northwoods Village with some of the patients there. Trinity United Methodist Church Daycare. We got, the PB Pioneer 4-H Club. So that's the ballet company. So that's going to be interesting. We have to wear our tutus and
dress
our
the
pointy
birds up.
shoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ballet slippers.
What?
Ballet slippers.
Ballet slippers, yeah, we're going to be really good.
Okay.
Jefferson Township 4-H clubs, Lakewood Christian School, right over here, southeast of Auburn, and we're going to be out there for the Women in the Outdoors, out there at the Isaac Walton League. So look out for that. You can sign up for that, and you get to do all kinds of things: some archery, some shooting. You get to meet me and some of the birds in the morning. And we'll go out and see what we can find around the place.
Oh, fun.
So, okay, if you're looking for something to give to somebody on
for
Valentine's
Valentine's
Day,
Day.
you can adopt a
Oh.
raptor. Okay, you get your adoption certificate, and a
Nice.
nice photo, bird history, and I think you have something coming up.
Yes, yeah, we're doing something special for Valentine's Day.
Okay, so we'll advertise that next week, right?
Yes,
It-
absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun, right?
It's gonna be really funny.
Something that's going to get us sued, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be unique, and yeah, everybody can participate in it. And I'm working on it, and I have to giggle every time I'm
Yeah,
working
I
on
know.
it.
I looked at that. And I looked kind
did
of like,
you
oh
really?
yeah. I said, I'm sure we can get sued.
Nah.
So, nah. Okay.
Our
So,
birds participate.
so
Nah.
We'll put a lid on her first, Bob. Don't
Yeah.
okay. All right. Yeah.
There's some sort of-
We'll tie her down.
So anyways,
Yes, her and stick her in our glove.
yeah.
Put her in a cage.
So,
Yeah,
you know.
everybody in a cage.
And don't forget, you can do the Soaring Hawk Raptor Adventure. You can come out here and meet the birds and meet the staff, you know, see the people at work, you know. And so, you know, see how much fun we have. Everybody happy and laughing and having a good time. So you can contact me, you know, or you can go on our website, soaringhawk.org, and you can sign up. We usually do it about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That way, usually there's a staff here. The birds are always here. And so we can
Yeah.
make arrangements. So give us a jingle. We'll be more than happy to show you around, and you can leave some of those old musty $50 bills with us. And then we have Soarin' Hawk programs. You know, programs are available for schools, homeschoolers, community groups, scouts, churches, and retirement homes. Yeah, for the homeschoolers, we're introducing some new programs, which are a little bit more intense than our normal presentations. It's a 4-part series where we really get into the ornithology and stuff. And also you get a chance to do some hands-on activities like making toys for the birds. And so there's that. You know, we also do special events, birthdays, weddings, Eagle Awards, block parties, baby showers. And if you have a good excuse for it, we'll come down there and we'll do a presentation. And don't forget, Amazon Smile. You know, everybody's still buying stuff off the internet. So, you know, make us your designated charity, and we'll be happy with that. You know, we get half of 1% of whatever you purchase. So that's great, you know.
Yeah.
And let's see here.
And it doesn't
Every
cost
little
you
bit.
anything.
And it
It's
doesn't
just-
cost you anything.
Right.
It's right.
just
So,
a nice thing.
so hey, Kathy, and hey, Ann, they're watching. Okay. Yeah, so, and don't forget, everybody's got to eat. You know, so you go out there to Kroger's, and you know, and we get a percentage every quarter. And so again, designate. It doesn't cost you anything. Designate us as your charity, and that'll make us happy because we get about a little over $400 every quarter. And so the more people we get signed up, the more money we make.
And more important, it makes the birds happy.
Yeah, it makes the
Yeah.
birds very
Makes the
happy. Yeah,
birds happy.
yeah. The heck with the people here.
Yeah, right.
If our birds are happy, the people are happy.
That's
Right,
right.
yeah,
The
so
birds
it
are
does.
first.
Yeah, and don't worry, the birds are not eating what you buy at Kroger's. Okay, we. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And don't forget, there's you know, we need fish
Yeah.
for Jeff and Air and Poe. They need their fish. So you know, you guys out there that are out there catching ice, you know, bring in some of those fish, and we'll put them to good use. No live fish at this time of the year. Our swimming pool is frozen up. And, so. Oh, there you go. There's the little flashing help thing. Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
help.
So this is Bob. I'm saying goodbye for the week. And let's see, who else is here? Gigi and Jillian and Jeannie. And, I got some thumbs up things. So. That was appreciated.
Yeah.
So I'm all done. If you can think of a topic you'd like to discuss, you know, I'm more than willing to take it on, you know. Even if I don't know anything about it, I'm willing to learn. And so should you.
Yep.